Where we'll start is with the Phillies. The Phillies have hit the halfway point, and as we hit the halfway point in the season, a little past halfway to be honest with you, but the All-Star break is really when you divide it up into the first half and second half. Phillies 55-41, a half game in front of the Mets for first place in the NL East. And today we're going to evaluate this team through the first half and where this team is at, how things have gone. And what I want today from you to start the show is I want the one word that you would use to describe the Phillies' first half of the season so far. What word would you use to describe it and why? 215-592-9494 if you want to get in. 215-592-9494. What's the one word you would describe for the Phillies in the first half of the season, the way they played and why? And thinking about it for me, the word I would use would be predictable. Because I think when you look at this season, you look at the way it's gone so far, it's gone pretty much exactly how I thought it would go. My opinion of this team has not changed at all. It's the same as it was a month ago. It's the same as it was on opening day. It's the same as it was at the start of spring training. And honestly, it's the same as it was the minute that they were eliminated by the Mets last year in the playoffs. This team and what has happened so far, the way they played in the first half of the season, is extremely predictable. And that's the word I've come up with for a number of reasons. We knew coming into the season the starting pitching was going to be great. The starting pitching has been great. The starting pitching, if anything, has been better than expected. Christopher Sanchez, even better than last year. Zach Wheeler, we've seen him be the best pitcher in baseball since he got here. It's arguably Zach Wheeler's best year as a Philly. Even with Aaron Nola getting injured, Ranger Suarez has been great. Jesus Luzardo overall has been good. The starting pitching's been great. We knew Kyle Schwarber had hit a bunch of home runs. Kyle Schwarber has hit a bunch of home runs. We knew, or at least I knew, Rob Thompson's a good manager. I think Rob Thompson has been a good manager for this team. But as we look at all those positive things, the same also applies for the other side. Because coming into this year, we knew the bullpen was spotty. Jose Alvarado, unexpected and unfortunate, obviously, that he got suspended. But the bullpen, I didn't think coming in it was very good. The bullpen has not been very good. We knew the defense was average at best. That's pretty much what you've seen. You've seen this defense be okay, but make mistakes that have hurt them at times. And we knew, and they knew after the Mets series, in my opinion, that the offense was not good enough and was getting worse. And what we have seen this year, through the first half of the season, despite how good the starting pitching has been, despite the record that the Phillies have, the offense has not been good enough, and the offense is getting worse. And it's why coming into this season, I think many others weren't as excited as we've been in past years. I mean, you could feel it during spring training. People were happy baseball was back, but there wasn't that same type of anticipation that there's been in past years. And people can chalk it up to the Eagles just won the Super Bowl. I don't believe that. I think if this was a team that people truly believed in, being a World Series contender, truly believed in as being a true contender, one of the best teams in baseball, that excitement would have been there. But it wasn't. And I think coming into this year, and so far, from what we've seen in the first half of the season, I wanted the Phillies to change my mind. I wanted to get to this point in the year and feel like, you know what, I did underrate this team. I was a little down on this team, disrespectful to this team during the offseason in spring training. But I don't feel that at all. I feel the exact same way that I felt before the season started. This is a good team. This is a playoff team. But this is not a true contender. And it's how I felt the whole time. It's how I still feel now. And the first half of the season to me has been extremely predictable. It's gone exactly the way I thought it would go, where you're going to have great starting pitching, but the offense is going to struggle. The offense is going to be up and down. You're going to have a good record. They're first place in the NL East. I thought they'd win the division. I still think they will win the division. But is my mind changed in terms of this team being a true World Series contender? It hasn't. They're a playoff team. I don't think they're a title team. And I want to know how you feel. What's the word that you would use to describe the Phillies in the first half? 215-592-9494 if you want to get in. 215-592-9494. That's how you join the show. I'll ask Justin DeRazio, who's producing the show today. Happy All-Star Week, Justin. You look thrilled to be in today, as always. You always have like a little bit of a grumpy look on your face. Justin.
That's just my natural face. I was sitting here thinking of a word.
And this is bad if I'm telling you this. You got to be a little more smiley, man.
What do you mean? Am I not being smiley enough for you?
No, you're smiling a little bit now.
Well, I was just thinking about how you never ask me these questions before we get on the air, so then I'm sitting here, I'm trying to think of a word to describe the Philly season.
I do that on purpose. You got to think on the fly here.
Well, then you're going to call me out for how I look when I'm thinking.
Well, that's true. What's a word that you would use?
What was the word that you used?
Predictable.
Yeah, I would say guaranteed, right? I would say that this is a guaranteed because this is what they were sold to me as in the beginning of the season. This is what I kind of expected them to be.
Yeah, that's good. And I think that's exactly kind of the way I view it. And I want to know how other people feel out there. What's a word that you would use to describe the Phillies in the first half? 215-592-9494. To me, extremely predictable. I think guaranteed, kind of a similar thing, but it does seem like this was a situation where it was almost destined to be this way.
I want to change my word.
You're changing the word.
Yeah,
okay.
I would say upside. Because at the beginning of the season, last night I was thinking about how I didn't actually think the Phillies would be in first place of the NL East. I thought the Mets were going to be in first place. I thought the Mets were going to kind of get a further ahead lead than the Phillies at this point in the season. I didn't think it'd be back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So I would say upside. There's been a little more upside to this team than I thought there would be. But there still needs to be improvements to this team. And upside works in two ways because there's still more upside to be found in the second half of the season.
Okay, well, I get what you're saying there. And if you want to get into 215-592-9494, what's the word you would use? For Justin, it's upside. For me, it's predictable. And to me, that's the most frustrating part of this thing, is when you look at this team and you look at their flaws, I knew they were there. And I think most people knew they were there. The Phillies should have known they were there, but they denied it. And that's the thing that I keep looking back at, and I find to be the most egregious thing. And today I'm getting ready for the show, and I'm thinking back to that press conference immediately after the Mets series. And some of the things that Dave Dombrowski had to say. And first off, here was Dave Dombrowski at that point talking about going into last offseason, how he could look at upgrading the roster this year.
Dave, when you look at upgrading the roster in some spots, what type of player do you think this team needs, or what type of skill set are you guys looking for in upgrades?
Well, that's a general question. That's a really tough one to answer because you just have to wait and see when you talk to people. You're looking to make your club better. You're not looking to be in a position to just change faces. So I think you're in a position where it depends upon who's available and how we weigh that and how they fit into your club. So, the way I would answer that question, we want championship players. Now, describe that. Well, there's a lot that goes into that, and I think that's how we approach it.
Now, that's a big word salad there. I don't even know what Dave Dombrowski was getting at there. Yeah, of course you want championship players, Dave. Thanks for pointing that out. But here was more, and this I think is the thing that frustrates me the most, because you look at this team and you look at this offense particularly. The offense right now is bad. The offense over the last week was brutal to watch. Out west, aside from that one game against the Giants on Wednesday, they couldn't really do anything. And I feel like this was evident last year in the playoffs, but Dave Dombrowski denied it. Here was Dombrowski last year, right after that Mets series, being asked about the offense and their performance.
Yeah, the unfortunate part, you have a tendency to focus only on your own club, right? This is a downtime from an offensive perspective in professional baseball. What was the average? 243 at the end of the year. Most of our hitters were better than 243. You see the scores in the games. In most of the postseason, there's not a lot of run production taking place. So at times we are vulnerable to being pitched well, as are other clubs. But I can't say that, like going into the last 2 months of the season, that we thought, that was going to be a major issue for us. But it's something we'll look at. We'll take a look at trying to address to see if we can make some changes. Sometimes, we talk about, it's interesting, and I know a theme is chase rate, right? I mean, everybody I read in here writes about chase rate. I think it was interesting, we got eliminated. We were 6th in major of the 12 clubs in chase rate in the postseason. And so that's not good, but it's not the worst. We didn't hit. We really didn't hit. Some of it's chase, some of it's approach, some of it's guys not being hot. We actually, if you looked at it, we chased less than the Mets did in that series, percentage-wise.
And that's the thing, man. We knew it. We watched that series. I feel like everyone knew it. We saw it all second half of the season. Like Dave Dombrowski and the Phillies, they chalked it up to one series when it was really the second half of the season. And I said it before, we chased less than the Mets. I mean, why don't we hang the freaking banner? We chased less than the Mets in that series. Well, guess what the Mets did? They scored more runs than you did. They were able to score runs. You weren't able to score runs. And in the end, the Phillies this past offseason, they decided to rearrange the deck chairs. They decided they were going to move guys around the lineup, and guess where we become? And this is another thing that goes to the predictable part of things, is I felt like the whole time they'll change up the order, they'll move different pieces around, but in the end, they're going to go back to what's comfortable. What happens yesterday? Kyle Schwarber's in the leadoff spot. I'd expect that to be the way it is going forward. I think Kyle Schwarber is going to be back leading off again. Very predictable outcome. You know, you changed a couple things in the bullpen. Jeff Hoffman out, Jordan Romano in. That's blown up in your face. Austin Hayes out, Max Kepler in. One guy who didn't produce for another guy who hasn't produced. Moves that were based in hope instead of actual facts. And it was just obvious that this was going to be the result. And I love this team. Like, I want this team to win, and it's why I get so frustrated. But I need to be honest. Like, if you ask me right now, do I feel better or worse about the Phillies winning the World Series? I feel worse, and I want to know how you feel on that as well. 215-592-9494. The offseason moves were a disaster. The offense is worse than expected. The young guys in the minors, who you thought you could rely on this year, Andrew Painter, Justin Crawford, apparently they're not ready since they're not here yet. And our hopes at this point, once again, basically hinge on Dave Dombrowski, whose track record since the 2022 World Series is not good. Aside from the Trey Turner signing, and hey, maybe this is unfair. I attribute the Trey Turner signing to John Middleton. I mean, if John Middleton's going to cut Trey Turner a $300 million check, there's not a whole lot Dave Dombrowski needs to do in those negotiations. But aside from that, his track record has been awful. And now the only hope, as I see it, is for Dave Dombrowski to rescue this team, for Dave Dombrowski to save this team. Do I feel good about that? Absolutely not. And I want to know, in addition to your word, what word would you use to describe the Phillies in the first half? And also, do you feel better or worse about their chances to win the World Series? Because I'll tell you this, man. Even with the starting pitching being as great as it's been, even with the opportunity to make upgrades over the next couple weeks, I absolutely feel worse about their chances. 215-592-9494 if you want to get in. 215-592-9494 is how you join the show.